Night Glide. Oh please, Strava's stat-seeking cycloanalysts roaming the digital clouds in your watchful droves, and awaiting another premium user's uploaded data to digest, in the name of machine-managed fitness, don't expend your prodigious algorithmic acuity by parsing the meagre metrics of this unmonitored, non-metered, and wholly deregulated roller derby. I was merely checking the chill factor on this eerily still spring night, and discovering, much to my thin-skinned relief, that our climate prophet's optimistic computations weren't too far north of the mortal mark. Swells of frigidity were apparent during both treks across the river's glassy expanse, whilst a conspicuous absence of traffic to bore invisible tunnels through the air allowed it to thicken and cling to poorly insulated ribs. This thermal impediment triggered several hot-tempered intervals, the most intense of which occurred around Greenway's Crescent, when a lone skateboarder, camouflaged against a tapestry of luminous shades and shape-shifting shadows cast by street lamps through leafy limbs, sent my heart somersaulting towards the star-spangled sky. By lucky fortune, it avoided the twinkling tip of Orion's silver arrow and landed back in my chest, well before this homespun leg stretcher's squiggly finale. All too chilled. Firm-fisted, but far-off gale force, were my initial impressions of a potent northerly fiend, whilst setting forth upon this post-late supper saunter, having already robbed myself of at least 500 Apple-certified strides by failing to tap an iPhone 16e's hypersensitive touchscreen firmly enough through a weatherproof plastic poncho. By the time I'd reached Ferry Footbridge, having exchanged sympathetic glances with several shivering tamarisk bushes, and heard tremulous whispers emanating from the leafy moors of many wooden wiseacres, I concluded this Arctic snap was armed with a sentient sting that undercut Mystic Met's inflated declarations to the tune of at least 10 degrees, and, during exceptionally strong gusts, felt like having one's cheeks flayed off by a frost-coated angle grinder. In light of such barbaric elemental abuse, I was glad to have already rendered one of my principal domestic duties by relocating 2 colour-coded garbage receptacles to our diligent counsel's designated collection point, where I could be certain that, sometime before high noon, well over a month's worth of rancid household refuse would be responsibly carted away in the back of a big blue lorry. Spicy suppression. Sudden and irrepressible cravings for certain strains of herbal tea should be acted upon, no matter the hour, if only as a healthy alternative to flavoured water vapour, and assuming there are round-the-clock convenience vendors in your vicinity who carry both plentiful stocks and broad varieties of such exotic grocery products upon their neatly stacked shelves. Fortunately, lemon and ginger is a long-established and common blend that happens to be offered by almost every mainstream and boutique brand of Britain's favourite leaf-based libation within their ever-expanding ranges. The price is night. The canny proprietor of Portslade's sole remaining all-night trader currently protects his well-appointed establishment with a paid security guard, who stands by the premises' front door and unlocks it whenever a visibly sober customer with healthy business intentions requests to be granted admittance. This precautionary measure resulted from a recent succession of nocturnal disturbances perpetuated by individuals who'd either been forcibly ejected from one of the volatile suburb's numerous hydration stations for drunken disorderly behaviour, or expressed unwarranted outrage over the store's competitive prices for canned cocktails, cask-matured pale ales, and any botanically brewed bitter from regions within Great Britain. An anonymous local resident also claims to have been informed by the owner that hiring self-trained staff to deal with such career troublemakers was both cheaper and far more practical than taking out an enhanced insurance policy, which would almost certainly classify any damage sustained through vandalism as unavoidable wear and tear. Nitrogenic. Then, after one of planet Earth's more graceful pirouettes, roughly 2 tings and another scrollable stack of urgent texts past the next spring witching hour, there was scant rest for the frigid throughout this flat-footed follow-up to Friday's nocturnal wander. After scuttling for shelter amidst the secluded streets and stout flint-lined hedges of Shoreham's slumbering old village, avoiding direct eye contact with a few furry familiars, I plodded steadily back across Norfolk Bridge, then under a rank of street lamps, transfixed by their incandescent gaze, and noting how each of these totemic torchbearers emits a metronomic tick, as though beating time to their swaying anatomies, and accompanying a tell-tale tinkle from the river's forest of boat-masts. No doubt that consulting one of the Internet's numerous crutches of knowledge would reveal the real reason for this sonic enigma, but why silence enlightening fantasies with life's most frivolous facts? During a subsequent dimly lit shuffle up King's Crescent, I took extra care not to trip over either its gnarly gravelled concrete surface or the dense cobweb of shadows that covered it. Several thousand evenly distributed and mostly mid-soled paces later, I stumbled head first onto a plumped pillow, whereupon passive recovery resumed. Noting around. Nothing more nor less remarkable than a partially inverted variation on both last weekend's nocturnal rambles, forming a grand total of roughly 20,000 pensive paces around the extreme outer boundaries of Shoreham's ever-adaptable training mecca for active pleasure-seekers and certified gym-phobics. The Siberian snap that had elicited feverish rustles from every wind-swept shrub and threatened to burn holes through the back of my unhooded neck was manifestly less pronounced, though this merciful boost in degrees was more than mitigated by bin-bothering levels of bluster. Within an opening mile of facing out this highly resistant western front, I'd set one capsized casualty to its vertical rights, only to hear its hollowed-out physique instantly toppled by the next gusty right hook. Our vociferous Cheapers Union, already battling to be heard above the monotonous drone from Monday's first wave of carbon-fuelled commuters, were also whipped into a chorus of cacophonous disapproval from deep within their bushy barracks. Meanwhile, somewhere between quarter distance and an imaginary midway coffee break of this hyper-extended hall, I attempted to mentally render several illustrative musical interludes from Tchaikovsky's iconic ballet Swan Lake, but found it hard to hear the orchestra's soft strings and muted woodwinds over the thunderous rumble of a low-flying Chinook. Or perhaps it was our coastguards road-testing their new Apache. Always the same, yet never so different. The ornamental cherry trees stationed around my quaint hometown's tranquil peninsula, occupying centre stage amidst the lavish cultivations within its rustic period quarter, and adding sumptuous splashes of colour to its surrounding suburbs, become more abundant and alluring throughout every passing spring. These blossoming monarchs of the roadside grove have now begun their spectacular seasonal gestation, erupting into fountains of floral confetti, enriched by 100 heavenly hues of candy, coral, and fuchsia pink. Thriving homages to nature's forbidden ruby fruits, whose radiant petals shall soon flutter free from their host's lithe fingers to pepper-paved galleries with abstract art, or shower flowering weeds upon the grassy verges beneath in gifts far more fashionable than any high street brand's spring collection.